expecting they may be.
So if somebody calls, I mean, what we're gonna be telling them, I mean, they may have motor vehicle questions or whatever. So what, like Gary said, I had a gentleman that had just purchased a vehicle, but he bought it from a private owner. So he needed plates, he needed everything. So there was no way, he hadn't bought it from a dealer. So, but the law has just, they put that in an emergency. If you bought it from a dealer, they're gonna extend that for you. You're not gonna need to get that vehicle registered right off. But I don't mind trying to accommodate people. If they just don't have a vehicle, period, and they need transportation, it worked. You know, so we'll just have to keep trying it. They've got to be really good about getting their paperwork. It's a little bit different, you know, being on the other side of that door and doing that. But I mean, they can call, we can email forms to them as far as births, deaths. They can go online to get fishing licenses, and you know, rapid renewal is even opening up to other communities to register vehicles that their town's not even participating in rapid renewal. So I think that's awesome. And yeah, there are some people that can't take the advantage of going on rapid, and we realize that. So we're going to work with them, but we're still going to be safe though too.
No, I just, when you tell people, you know, if we're advertising, you know, call a town officer, and if we're offering them some alternatives, if they really just can't do it, then that's the intent.
And people are calling. I mean, they've been calling for 2 days, and we've been answering, helping them online, and you know, we've been accepting tax payments. They just put it through the mail slot, and so for the last 2 days, it's actually worked pretty well.
It's been smoother than I thought.
I know. I'm pretty impressed. So the 2-day trial has been beneficial. There's no question about that.
They tried to erase that. Maine.gov charges 2.5% for you to use your debit card or credit card, and they approached them, but they can't do away with that. So that's the only thing. But I mean, people can. We've got that mail slot, the drop slot, so people can take advantage of, you know, dropping a payment in the mail slot, and it really is. And I did general assistance over the phone already. I think it's different. It's going to work.
I also provided you with a chart. I've given it to all our department heads there, and it shows a human person. You know, and the point that I just want to go and show everybody is the 5% complications on COVID-19 versus the 1% of the infected rates on the flu. And this is the point of concern that we're seeing is, you know, if you got it and you're an older person and you've got a higher possibility of coming up with some severe complications than you would if you just had the flu. Make no bones about it, this is serious. This isn't, you know, something that we need to take serious, and you know, perception out there. I've been talking about perception since I've had this job, and people are perceiving us to be bad, and we need to take care of our public. So this is something that the hospital has for their staff, and that kind of tells everything in a nutshell over what's going on. Chief Coughlin, would you like to just kind of bring the council up to speed over what our current state of affairs are?
Well, at the fire department, we kind of covered the establishment of the committee. I'll touch base on the fire department. Not much has changed since the last meeting, but a couple of the councilors were not there. We're assisting people as we can outside the property. We basically have, you know, the doors are secured, so if someone needs us, we're going outside to meet with them. As far as response on incidents, we've been in contact and met with Delta Ambulance. Any call that's coded, what they're coding, the dispatch is coding the calls that are potentially meet the criteria for testing. So if we get a code of a U21 positive or a U21 inconclusive, Delta Ambulance is taking the lead on those EMS calls, and we are going in a backup role. The reason for that is Delta personnel, being the paramedic level, are going to have to make that contact. So if we go in and make the contact first, we'll potentially contaminate more responders than we need to. With that being said, if it's a life-threatening issue, we're gearing up and we're going in and helping. If it's someone that calls, they're running a fever, they don't feel well, Delta's taking the lead where they're in a backup role. It's kind of the firefighting theory that we go by on the 2 in, 2 out. So you got the Delta personnel inside and the rescue people outside ready to assist as needed. Trying to limit any exposures. Right now, that's working right now. If things get if things take a turn for the worse and Delta starts, if they start losing people or have their providers going into quarantine, it may have to be reassessed. We have a limited supply of personal protective equipment. That's another reason that we need to do this. We put in requests, as has the police department, to get some more PPE, but where we are right now, we have a limited supply, as do most first responder agencies. We are limiting I'm not discouraging our members to come to the station, but we're limiting the areas in which they go when they get there. As far as what door they use to come in, where they go when they get to the station, so that they're going to areas that are easily cleaned, and they're not just going through the entire building. With a new building, we now have close to 12,000 square feet. That's a lot of building to clean. So we're limiting rooms that can be used to minimize some of that. So that's basically where we are at the fire department currently. Right, do you have any questions?
Mr. Bowman?
Have we had any calls within the last few days where we've used this
We have.
practice where Delta has gone in, we've been the backup?
Yes.
A lot? A few?
Not a lot, but there's been a couple. Yeah.
Is there some way for people to contact you in the building if they come to the door, Chief? No.
Really, no. We try to have somebody in the dispatch room. There are other duties that, we're still trying to run the normal operations, so the per diem does have other duties he's doing. I have appointed, for those of you who know him, Randy Marshall Sr. as acting deputy chief as a part-time position. So he worked today, attended some meetings, getting up to speed. So I have another person in the building. We also have a member who's returned from college, who we're going to give some hours to and have her in working with us, so that we can try to have somebody up front. So if somebody does come to the door, we can help them out.
But you don't have any doorbell or anything?
No.
Like if a person doing some work out back, that they would know somebody's at the door?
Not currently. No, we're working with our phone vendor to try to come up with something that's feasible economically to do. He's supposed to get back to me by Friday. With that being said, we have had a lot of issues with our phones since we moved to the new station. We had a temporary phone line from Spectrum. I found out today that that temporary line was not even working. So we went all day without phone, which is, Spectrum has been difficult.
Well, that was a nice way of putting it.
Well chosen.
We started with Consolidated, we switched to Spectrum because we weren't getting anywhere with Consolidated, and now we're between who collects the phone call and whose line it goes over and who we're getting service from. But even as emergency services, they don't care. We're a number on the other end of the line. Very unfortunate. So, I had somebody yesterday, they tried to call the station 7 times. We couldn't get through, so.
Can you find out why it's not working? Is it a wire, or is it somebody disconnected something?
I don't know. I just found this out at 4 something this afternoon that someone says, your number's not even working. Because we put a sign on the door to call the number, because most people have cell phones.
Yeah.
To call the number. And he said he called the number and it didn't work. And so I called the number, and sure enough, it didn't work. That's the temporary number. Rick McKenzie's been helping us with
I
that.
can take that back out of my phone then, the one that you sent out.
Rick McKenzie's been helping us with that, and if anybody's gonna get something done, it's him. I mean, he's been on top of it, but it's been difficult. So Randy's on board. Olivia, who's home from college, she's gonna be available 3 days a week when she's not doing her online college classes, to kind of ramp up our staffing a little bit.
You know, and part of the reason why we Chief brought Randy on board too is for redundancy. Any one of us could be quarantined for 14 days, and if we lose our fire chief, it's going to be a problem. And so Randy can step in and take his place. At least it gives us a...
So Randy, I don't know if you know him or not, but he currently lives in Belgrade. He's from Oakland, from the area. He's retired military. He served as fire chief on Air Force Base overseas. He's retired. He's got time. He's available. He's a resource, you know, for us, you know, within our committees and the fire department. So it's good to have him on board. It kind of spreads my workload a little bit and can help us out.
Chief. We've been fine tuning the way that we do our business, obviously, according to the situation. Traffic stops, we're basically not doing traffic stops unless we have to, unless it's an emergency situation. The courts are closed down basically, so procedurally we're dealing with that. Arrests, we're trying to avoid that at all costs. If we can summons, we can, and actually if we're summoning somebody, it's up to July now. Because of the situation the courts are in. So, I mean, there's just anything you can imagine that we do every day, we're having to fine tune and change because everybody's in the same situation where they're closed or they're operating under, you know, their different circumstances, as we all are. Our lobby, we keep that open, and that's only because we have that glass barrier. The officers have been instructed that there's not to be any face-to-face. People come in, and if they want to talk to an officer, they can do that through the glass barrier. So we're keeping that open, and really, I think the numbers of walk-ins that we've had the last few days have been minimal. It's been pretty low. It is still valuable to keep it open because a lot of people do come in and drop off the drugs in the box out there, and that's a valuable service that we have to the community. So we want to keep that available as much as we can. Kathy's still there, so there's somebody to greet them, so that works. I mean, I could go on and on about all the procedures that we're doing differently now because of this situation and that, but I have put written guidance out to the guys, and we still have calls now that we're going to. They had to make an arrest last night on a domestic violence case, and that was done the best they could do, and the person was bailed. The jail, if somebody has a cough, you take them down to the jail, they're not taking them, so, I mean, it's difficult, the way we have to deal with it, so.
Make a note of that, Bob, if they take you down.
Just cough, dry
I was
cough.
listening to the no traffic stops.
They just got recorded too, so.
Right. So I mean, those are the things that we're doing. Other than that, you know, business as usual. We are trying to make sure that the cars are out and about. I mean, I'm not having the guys sit on their butt out back. They're out being seen because I think it's important that the public still sees that we're there, that we're out there. So we are doing that. The only other thing I would mention is we have, and this is a collective thing that we're doing with all the town departments, and you may have seen that on our Facebook, the town's Facebook pages, and the fire departments, and that is the grocery-related thing for those seniors that may be in their homes and not wanting to come out because, you know, of their age and the difficulties they have with this COVID-19 being a senior. So we put that information out if somebody needs us to pick up groceries for them. And by us, I mean there are a number of town employees that have volunteered to go pick it up and deliver it to these people. So that's something we're working on. That's changing a little bit as we learn more about stuff. Originally the thought was, you know, they call into Walmart or, you know, one of the grocery stores, they order the stuff, pay for it, we go pick it up and deliver it. As it turns out, I guess most of those grocery stores and Walmarts are 7 days out. You order it today, you're not getting it for 7 days, so that may not be very helpful to them. So we're looking at other options, and we're working pretty hard on that. I know Eric came up with some good ideas today that I thought were brilliant. So we're working on that, and hopefully, you know, if there are people out there in need, we'll be able to help them, because that's what we do. So,
Tracy Frost, school resource officer's kind of heading that part of it up, so
yeah.
he's got the time to do it now, and
Yeah. So certainly if you have any specific questions about procedures that we're doing, I'll answer them the best I can.
So you're using the SROs some?
Yeah, the SROs are not at the schools, though they are occasionally. I know Tracy was called in today to deliver a few meals
Yeah.
to people that weren't able to come because the school is
Yeah.
giving meals out as well. So he did that. So they're doing little things that the school's requesting of them, but beyond that, they're here to be a help here. So.
When we was talking before the meeting there, you thought that maybe, you know, as this goes out, month or whatever, people could be getting a little antsy at home and more trouble. Do you have arrangements with enough backups to put more people on, and if you need be? You know, I'm not sure what it will come to.
Well,
but I mean,
we have a couple people on every night. We have a sergeant and a patrol officer on at night.
Every night.
And during the day, I'm here, the captain's here, we have the SROs here now,
Yeah.
plus the duty officer, so we have a pretty good backup plan right now, but you're right, and I did say that, and I would fully expect that I think people are gonna start to get cabin fever.
Yeah.
People are gonna be out of work, and they're gonna be agitated because of that, or for whatever reasons. I mean, this is stressful to people.
Yeah.
And when you put stress into the mix and people maybe not being able to go to work, and all those things kind of together, then you can get into domestic situations that unfortunately we have to deal with. So I would expect that and probably to pick up in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom?
One of the things that David had mentioned, which I'm not sure how we help, but maybe we can, that's why I'm bringing it up. Hopefully the people picking up food at the various sites, the schools, Fabian, will pick up as people get the word out, but through any of this or through other things in the town office, Facebook, you know, Facebook gets to thousands of people more than anything else. Can we come up with some ideas of how to get the word out so